Have you ever found yourself in that movie-like scene where everything seemed perfect? He was texting, saying he missed you, making you laugh, and then, out of nowhere, silence. Your phone stops buzzing, notifications vanish, and suddenly it feels like you've been forgotten in the blink of an eye. And then the big question hits. Should you chase after him? Or is there a secret to flipping the game in your favor? It's inevitable. When someone vanishes without explanation, your mind starts racing in 1,000 directions. You check your phone every 5 minutes, making sure the internet is working, scrolling back to see if that last message was really sent. It's like waiting for a bus that never shows up, but you keep standing there at the stop thinking, what if it arrives now? That empty silence feels harsher than any direct rejection, because it leaves room for your imagination to create the worst-case scenarios. At this stage, many women slip into a mental loop. They replay the last date, analyze every word spoken, every emoji sent. Was I too affectionate? Did I not say enough? Did he not like what I wore? The mind becomes a relentless detective, looking for clues to a crime that may not even exist. The problem is, this endless investigation only fuels more anxiety. And anxiety often leads to action, usually impulsive action. That's when the urge to send 1, 2, 10 texts kicks in. To call just to hear his voice. To stalk his social media, checking if he's active, smiling on some story, living life as if nothing happened. But behind all of this is a disguised panic. The feeling that he holds the power, while you're left waiting for crumbs of attention. Here's the shift you need. Do you really need an answer from him? Or do you need an answer from yourself? Because the truth is, what he does or doesn't do isn't under your control. But your reaction is. And this is where the real power lies, flipping the question. It's not, why did he disappear? But rather, what am I going to do about his disappearance? That perspective alone is the first step to taking your power back. The biggest trap in this initial stage is believing that his silence reflects your worth. It doesn't. His disappearance says more about him than it ever could about you. And when you finally see that, it's like cleaning a foggy lens. You see things with sharp clarity. That's when you're ready to face the real dilemma that eats at so many women. Should I chase after him or let him go? This is the question that echoes in most women's minds. If I don't chase him, will I lose him forever? It feels like your brain creates a life or death equation. If I reach out, I might look desperate. If I don't, I risk losing him completely. It's like being trapped in a maze without a map. That tug of war eats up your energy, steals your sleep, and robs your peace. The truth is, this doubt is born out of fear of loss. It's not really about the man himself, but about the sting of rejection his silence brings. It's like standing in a long line, waiting patiently, and suddenly someone slams the door shut in your face. It's not just about the place you didn't get into. It's about the feeling of being pushed aside. Nobody likes to feel disposable. Now think about this. When you run after someone who disappeared, what are you really saying without words? You're saying, you're so valuable that I'll accept whatever treatment you give me, just so I don't lose you. And trust me, men pick up on that message, even when you don't spell it out. And unfortunately, some will take advantage of that power. But here's the twist. Choosing not to chase doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself first. Think of it like a lighthouse in a storm. It shines bright, it's steady, but it doesn't move around chasing every boat that sails by. The boats decide whether to steer toward that light or drift away. So the real dilemma isn't about him, it's about you. The decision isn't should I chase him or not, but rather, do I lose myself trying to hold on to someone, or do I find myself even if he walks away? When the question shifts, the doubt transforms. It stops being a prison and turns into freedom. And that's when we need to talk about the biggest warning sign. Never chase a man unless you truly did something wrong. There are rare situations where apologizing isn't desperation, it's maturity. If you know you said something hurtful, acted carelessly, or made a mistake that genuinely offended him, then owning up and saying, "I'm sorry," is a sign of emotional responsibility. That's not chasing, that's being accountable. But outside of those exceptions, running after someone who vanished without a word is like entering a race with no finish line. When you rush to send messages, insist on calls, or even show up uninvited, the silent message you're sending is, "No matter what you do, I'll always be here." And that's the quickest way to kill attraction. Think about it. Would you enjoy playing a video game where every level was unlocked, every challenge already completed? Of course not. The thrill comes from the chase, the effort, the reward. Without it, there's no excitement. The truth is, men usually don't disappear by accident. Disappearing is a choice. Sometimes it's deliberate. He lost interest. Sometimes it's unconscious. He lacks the maturity to handle what he's feeling. Either way, silence is communication. It's a message in itself, and your job isn't to interrupt it, but to listen and interpret. Each time you go after someone who pulls away, you feed into a toxic cycle. He disappears, you chase, he comes back with little effort, then he vanishes again. It's like giving candy to a child throwing a tantrum. It works in the short term, but it only reinforces the behavior long term. And you end up drained, while he feels more entitled. And here's the question that stings the most. But what if I don't chase him, and he never comes back? The answer is simple, then good riddance. Because better to learn early that he doesn't belong in your life than to waste months or years holding on to someone who was never truly invested. The pain is real, yes, but it's the kind of pain that frees you, because it closes the door on someone who never deserved your energy in the first place. There's an unspoken law that runs through relationships. Men, by nature, like to pursue. It's not an absolute rule, but it's a tendency that stretches across cultures and history. From ancient times, when men literally hunted for survival, to modern dating, there's still a thrill in going after what they want. When a woman switches roles and becomes the chaser, that natural rhythm is thrown off, and the entire game loses its balance. Think of it like a dance. If both partners try to lead at the same time, the result is clumsy and awkward. But when one leads and the other follows, the movement flows, smooth, elegant, and captivating. Relationships work the same way. It's not about submission, it's about harmony. When a woman chases, she cuts the music before it even begins to play. A man needs space to express his hunter energy. This doesn't mean playing games or manipulating him. It means allowing the natural order to unfold. Imagine a puzzle. Each piece has its place. When you try to force one piece where it doesn't belong, the whole picture falls apart. The same happens when you take over his role. The result isn't connection, it's confusion. Here's a simple example. Ever notice how free things are often taken for granted? Picture a concert ticket. If someone hands it to you with no effort required, you might not even bother to go. But if you had to wait in line for hours, plan ahead, fight to get that ticket, its value skyrockets. Relationships mirror this. What's too easy tends to lose its appeal. That's why the goal isn't to be hard to get or cold. It's about holding your ground in such a way that he feels the need to step up. When you chase, he relaxes. But when you position yourself with value, he moves. And that subtle shift changes everything. Here's where things get tricky. Many women believe that if they don't chase, the man will simply disappear forever. That fear pushes them to accept far less than they deserve. How many times have you heard stories of women tolerating ghosting, weak excuses, or convenient reappearances, just to avoid losing him? This behavior usually comes from attachment. And often, it's attachment to something that doesn't even exist yet. The relationship hasn't been defined, but in her mind, it's already a serious commitment. That creates unrealistic expectations, which only set the stage for disappointment. It's like building a sandcastle and then panicking when the tide rolls in. Another mistake is over-blaming themselves, thinking, "I must have done something wrong. Maybe I wasn't good enough." That constant self-criticism breeds insecurity, and insecurity pushes him even further away. The issue isn't that you're too much or not enough. It's that he isn't aligned with what you truly want. And no amount of chasing will fix that mismatch. Then there's the fear of being replaced. The thought, if I don't chase him, another woman will take my place. That mindset turns love into a competition, as if you were a trophy to be won. But here's the truth. You're not a trophy. You're not a prize to be claimed. You are the choice. And if he doesn't choose you freely, then he was never really yours to begin with. So the biggest mistake isn't that he vanished. The real mistake is believing you must lose yourself in order not to lose him. Because once you hand over your peace, your dignity, and your time just to keep someone around, the real loss has already happened. You've lost yourself. Now picture this, a packed stadium. The game is happening on the field, but you're up in the bleachers, cheering, hoping the player notices you. Or worse, you're sitting on the bench, waiting for your turn to play whenever he decides to call you in. That's the role many women end up taking without even realizing it. When a man shows up only when it's convenient for him, and you're always available, the message you send is clear. No matter how often you disappear, I'll always be here. That makes you an option, not a priority. It's like keeping you in his pocket, ready to use when it suits him. But let's be honest. Nobody was born to be Plan B. Here's a practical example. If he disappears all weekend, then pops up on Monday, and you drop everything to see him, what has he learned? That it doesn't matter if he ignores you during his free time. You'll still be ready and waiting when he's bored. That's not love, that's convenience. And convenience is not the foundation of a real relationship. Being the bleachers also means you're just watching his life play out, clapping at the highlights, laughing at his stories, but never actually being part of the main game. At first, it might feel harmless, but deep down, it chips away at your self-worth. Because you know you're giving the energy of a main character while being treated like a side role. That's why the solution isn't revenge or playing games. It's positioning. You show through your actions that you won't accept scraps of attention. You're not just saying you're unavailable. You actually are busy living your life, building your world, being fulfilled. And the moment you step into that role, you stop being a bench warmer and start being the whole game. Another secret to flipping the game is learning how to read the signs. Men reveal their intentions much more through actions than through words. A man who only shows up during the week, usually after work hours, is most likely looking for something casual. But a man who makes time for you on weekends, during his leisure, his downtime, his most valuable hours, is showing a higher level of commitment. Think of it like a calendar. The days he chooses to spend with you speak volumes about the place you hold in his life. Weekends are prime time, reserved for what really matters. If he doesn't include you there, it's a signal you're not a priority. It might be hard to accept, but it's always better to face the truth early than to live in a comforting illusion later. Another key sign is consistency. A man who's genuinely interested doesn't appear and disappear like a flickering light. He maintains a steady presence, even if it's in small ways. Busy or not, he finds time to let you know you matter. But the man who vanishes and reappears, over and over, is showing you something too. He's not ready, or he's not willing. And it's important not to confuse normal absence with disrespectful silence. Everyone has busy moments. That's natural. But a man who cares explains his absence, makes it clear he values you. The one who ghosts without a word, that's not busyness, that's disregard. And it's up to you to recognize the difference. When you learn to read these signals, you gain clarity. And clarity is power. Because instead of asking yourself, what did I do wrong? You start asking, is this the kind of relationship I even want? That shift of perspective changes everything. And it leads you straight into the next step, how to position yourself with both lightness and strength. The secret isn't about being cold, hard, or playing games. The real secret is knowing how to position yourself with both lightness and firmness. Show that you like him, yes, but also show that you don't need him to be happy. That's the key difference. Liking is a choice, needing is dependency. And dependency doesn't attract, it repels. A woman who knows her worth carries herself differently. Her actions speak louder than any speech. She doesn't have to say, "I value myself." It's visible in the way she takes care of herself, manages her life, and sets her boundaries. That kind of energy is magnetic. It doesn't demand respect, it commands it. It's not about using silence as punishment. It's about letting silence work in your favor. If he disappears, you don't run after him. You keep living your life, focusing on your goals, nurturing your friendships, and enjoying your own company. And when he realizes he's not the center of your universe, he's faced with two choices: step up or step out. Positioning yourself lightly but firmly also means communicating clearly. It's not nagging, it's expressing. You can say, "I like spending time with you, but I'm looking to build something consistent." It's straightforward, graceful, and unapologetic. It doesn't pressure, but it does set a standard, and anyone who respects you will rise to meet it. This balance, soft but strong, open but secure, is what separates someone begging for attention from someone who naturally receives it. And it's exactly here where the shift happens. Either he realizes your value and moves closer, or he shows you he was never really in it. Either way, you win. When a woman stands her ground, a man feels it. Her absence speaks louder than a flood of desperate messages ever could. That's when reality can hit him hard. I was an idiot. I let an incredible woman slip away. And in that moment, he may rush back, eager to fix things and prove himself. But here's the caution: you can't assume his return means true change. Some men come back only to feed their egos, to reassure themselves they still have a hold on you. They'll put in a little effort, win you over again, and then disappear just like before. It's a cycle that only ends when you decide not to play the game anymore. The real test is consistency. A man who genuinely regrets his actions shows it through steady, reliable behavior, not just one grand comeback. That's why you need to ask, is he coming back for me, or just for himself? Understanding the difference is critical if you want to protect your heart. And if he doesn't come back at all, even better, because that means you didn't waste your precious time on someone who was never truly invested in the first place. Sure, it stings at first, but that kind of pain is actually freedom. It clears the space for someone better, someone ready. Yes, the impact on him can be powerful, but the impact on you is even greater. Because once you realize you hold the power to flip the game, you'll never again accept being someone's backup plan. That awareness changes everything, and it sets the stage for the strongest version of yourself. So remember this: never settle for being the bleachers or the bench. Never beg for attention, affection, or reciprocity. His disappearance is not your fault, nor is it a sign that you're not worthy. On the contrary, it's a silent test that reveals whether he truly deserves a place in your life. Value yourself, take your stand, and keep moving forward. Because once you understand you're a priority, not an option, you completely change the game. And when the reality finally hits him, it might already be too late. But for you, it will always be the perfect time to choose better. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been through this? Has someone ever just disappeared without a word? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help another woman going through the same thing. And of course, if this video resonated with you, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share it with